Welcome back to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole from the Thunder Bay Public Library. This week we are going to be covering one of the more fun topics of the year, which is books that are turning into movies and TV shows.
Yes. So, of course, there's tons of them out there. So what we tried to do was to pick ones that are coming out this year. So new ones that either haven't come out yet or maybe like just came out, I think in at least one case. And then for our personal recs, then we picked sort of historical adaptations that we wanted to recommend.
Mine isn't historical.
Well, no, you know what I mean. Historical is in the movie is. Oh, it's not because they're doing a remake. Never mind.
Shh. We'll get there.
Never mind. I'm sorry.
Anyways, let's go into the highlights before Laura spoils the wreck before we get there.
My apologies. Okay. All right. So this one, it's a YA book. And it's been adapted into a movie, and I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix already. So the book, it's called Moxie. And its little tagline is, "It's time to fight like a girl."
Hell yeah.
Vivian Carter is fed up with her high school teachers who think the football team can do no wrong, fed up with the sexist dress codes, hallway harassment, and gross comments from guys during class. But most of all, Viv Carter is fed up with always following the rules. Viv's mom was tough as nails, punk rock riot girl in the 90s, and now Viv takes a page from her mother's past and creates Moxie, a feminist zine that she distributes anonymously to her classmates. She's just blowing off steam, but other girls respond and spread the Moxie message. As Viv forges friendships with other young women across the divides of cliques and popularity rankings, she realizes that what she has started is nothing short of a girl revolution. A page-turning read with a feminist message for anyone who has ever had to deal with hashtag everyday sexism.
I think that was a popular Twitter hashtag for a while.
I think, yeah, this book is pretty, like the book even is pretty recent. I think it's just a couple of years old. And it's kind of fun because I feel like a lot of the references that her mother has are things from my youth. Not yours necessarily. Yes. Like just a little bit older than me, but like 90s stuff. So that's kind of fun if you're about my age. So like mid to late 30s or a little older. It might be kind of fun or maybe a little depressing to be like, this is like historical stuff now.
No.
But yeah. And just like a fun feminist read might be inspiring. If you have young women in your life, might be a good one to read and watch with them.
Yeah, it looks like it's directed by Amy Poehler, which is
It is
cool.
directed by Amy Poehler. Yeah.
Love it. The next one is a very, very popular author, Leigh Bardugo, and it's the Shadow and Bone. It says trilogy. I should read the actual document. And it's... That one's coming out on Netflix as well, and I just have to say, by the image, I'll post both of these. The image that they have there, I should read the book.
Based on that poster?
Yeah.
Okay, I pulled that poster for our notes, and there was like 8 of them for each different character.
Wow, they look so strong.
They all looked good. Yeah.
Okay, here's the description of Shadow and Bone. Surrounded by enemies, the once great nation of Ravka has been torn in two by the Shadowfold, a swath of near impenetrable darkness, crawling with monsters who feast on human flesh. Now its fate may rest on the soldiers of one lonely refugee. Alina Starkov has never been good at anything, but when her regiment is attacked on the Fold and her best friend is brutally injured, Alina reveals a dormant power that saves his life. A power that could be the key to setting... him. Sorry, I was thinking his was like saves Alina's life and Alina was a he. I get it now. So he is the best friend. Okay, Alina reveals a dormant power that saves his life, a power that could be the key to setting her war-ravaged free country free. There we go. Wrenched from everything she knows, Alina is whisked away to the royal court to be trained as a member of the Grisha, the magical elite led by the mysterious Darkling. Yet nothing in this lavish world is as it seems. With darkness looming and an entire kingdom depending on her untamed power, Alina will have to confront the secrets of the Grisha and the secrets of her heart. Wow.
Yes. That lot, like, obviously big fantasy. Also, there's some romance that they maybe sort of hinted at there, but it's definitely present in that series.
Is it enemies to lovers?
I honestly, it was a while ago I read it. I think it's maybe sort of, like even a little fear to,
Okay.
to getting to, intimidation.
Okay.
To getting to know you, to something more.
Love it. That sounds great. Can't wait to. This is like I have to say Netflix does a really good job adapting teen novels. Did you see the movie for Cassandra Clare, her book?
Yes, I did years ago when that happened.
I don't know what your thoughts were, but I
Not
hated
good.
it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a good movie.
No. And did you watch the TV show?
No.
So good. It was really good. And it takes place in like downtown Toronto, which is really cool, in like the distillery district, so you like recognize places. But they do a really good job. So if it's anything like City of Bones, is that what it's called?
That was the first one, Shadow Hunters.
Hunters
series. Yes.
That's what the series is called. If it's anything like that, they will handle it well and do a great job.
And even like they did a good job with The Witcher. Which is another big fantasy title, right?
Yeah.
I know this one, I think it combines this book and she has like another series that's set in the same world. Something like that. It sounds like there's kind of a lot going on, but I guess in a TV series you have time to have a lot going on, right? So
yeah. I love TV show adaptations over movie adaptations.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So that does sound like a good one. And that's coming out, I want to say later this year.
It looks like it says April 23rd on the poster you put in there.
Oh, well, there you go. So quite soon, actually. Okay. Our next one is The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. Balram Hawal is a complicated man. Servant, philosopher, entrepreneur, murderer. Over the course of 7 nights, by the scattered light of a preposterous chandelier, Balram tells us the terrible and transfixing story of how he came to be a success in life, having nothing but his own wits to help him along. Born in the dark heart of India, Balram gets a break when he is hired as a driver for his village's wealthiest man, 2 house Pomeranians, Puddles and Cuddles, and the rich man's very unlucky son. From behind the wheel of their Honda City car, Bauman's new world is a revelation. While his peers flip through the pages of Murder Weekly, Love, Rape, Revenge, barter for girls, drink liquor, Thunderbolt, and perpetuate the great rooster cope of Indian society, Bauman watches his employers bribe foreign ministers for tax breaks, barter for girls, drink liquor, single malt whiskey, and play their own role in the rooster coop. Everyone has a role to play. Ballman learns how to siphon gas, deal with corrupt mechanics, and refill and resell Johnny Walker Black Label bottles, all but one. He also finds a way out of the coop that no one else inside it can perceive. Ballman's eyes penetrate India as few outsiders can. The cockroaches and the call centers, the prostitutes and the worshippers, the ancient and internet cultures, the water buffalo, and, trapped in so many kinds of cages that escape is almost impossible, the white tiger. And with a charisma as undeniable as it is unexpected, Ballroom teaches us that religion doesn't create virtue and money doesn't solve every problem. But decency can still be found in a corrupt world, and you can get what you want out of life if you eavesdrop on the right conversations.
Wow, that sounds so, like, I want to say action-packed, but I don't know how it'll play out on the screen.
It sounds it sounds a little tiny bit. This comparison is going to make me sound like I'm being very simplistic, but it almost reminds me a little bit of, the one from a couple of years ago where the guy is he's on a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show and all of his answers.
Slumdog Millionaire?
There you go. But it does make me sound like real basic because I'm like, oh, these books have, are from, are about some of the same country, so they must be the same. That's not what I'm saying. It just sounds sort of like, that
An
book is about,
inside peek into the
yeah.
yeah.
And like that book is about how like all the different things that he happens to encounter through his life come together to produce this one great opportunity. And it kind of sounds like this guy's the same way. He's kind of building different pieces as he is in different situations and then ends up finding a way out.
Out of the rooster coop.
I
That's
was like,
great.
can't be a co-op. It's got to be coop, right?
Yeah.
It's a
I
coop.
mean, like a hen, like when you flew the coop, but like,
Sure.
is it slang for like coo? Who knows?
I don't know.
It sounds very like if in my mind, like the vibe of this is very much like, what was that Ryan Johnson movie that just came out?
Ryan Johnson.
It was like a murder mystery.
Oh, yes.
Knife. Oh, what's it called?
It was a great movie with Anna de Armas. I don't remember her name.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
well, we can't remember the name of it, but
we'll put it in the notes.
It's the knife one.
Oh my goodness. It's
That's
definitely going to come to us in like a moment.
I'm just going to Google it one sec. Ryan.
Sure, Google it.
Johnson.
It also reminds me of just any sort of like book where it's like, I'm looking back through my whole life and all the things I've experienced, like Mordecai Richler, like Barney's version gives me a bit of Barney's version vibe.
Knives Out.
Of Duddy Kravitz. Knives Out. There you go.
Knew it had a knife in it.
It did have a knife. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds
what
really.
We're talking about.
Sounds really good. Oh yeah, we're professionals on this show.
Yes, clearly today we are at our best 100%.
Peak. Read this next.
Yes. Peak brain, connections. We're quick. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're on the ball.
Yeah. Okay.
Our next one is called The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and she actually had two coming out this year, and I had to like choose between them. I can't remember what the other one is at this point, but if you like this one, go check out her other one that's coming out. Okay, so it's called The Nightingale. In love, we find out who we want to be. In war, we find out who we are. France, 1939. In the quiet village of Carreveau, Vienne Morac says goodbye to her husband Antoine as he heads for the front. She doesn't believe that the Nazis will invade France, but invade they do in droves of marching soldiers, in caravans of trucks and tanks, in planes that fill the sky and drop bombs upon the innocent. When a German captain requisitions Vienne's home, she and her daughter must live with the enemy or lose everything. Without food or money or hope, as danger escalates all around them, she is forced to make one impossible choice after another to keep her family alive. Vienne's sister, Isabel, is a rebellious 18-year-old searching for purpose with all the reckless passion of youth. While thousands of Parisians march into the unknown terrors of war, she meets Guyton? A partisan who believes the French can fight the Nazis from within France, and she falls in love as only the young can, completely.
I'm sorry, who's fell in love, the sister or the main character?
The sister. I think this paragraph is about the sister. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, oh, hello.
Whoa.
Conflict.
This was one of the hard decisions, falling in love with a young man.
I mean, you never know. Okay, you never know.
But when he betrays her, Isabel joins the resistance and never looks back, risking her life time and time again to save others. With courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristen Hanna captures the epic panorama of World War II and illuminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Women's War. Sounds good.
Does. It really does. Best-selling author. Yeah. I mean, right away as a reader if this is your sort of thing or not.
Oh, absolutely.
It's many people's sort of thing. So if you enjoy this, now you can read the book, and there's an adaptation coming that you can look forward to.
Yay!
Okay. Okay. So this next one, I feel like this has been, I don't know, kicking around for a long time. Like I feel like I heard adaptation news so many years ago, and then
Yeah.
it just never happened. And then I guess it's finally happening now. So the book in question, Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, by Gregory Maguire. Do we know, is the adaptation an adaptation of the musical, or is it like of the
I
book?
I believe it's an adaptation of the musical. Like it's
Okay.
going to be a musical.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So here is the description. When Dorothy triumphed over the Wicked Witch of the West in L. Frank Baum's classic tale, we heard only her side of the story. But what about her arch nemesis, the mysterious witch? Where did she come from? How did she become so wicked? And what is the true nature of evil? It's
Simple questions.
like a simple, and then a big question. Gregory Maguire creates a fantasy world so rich and vivid that we will never look at Oz the same way again. Wicked is about a land where animals talk and strive to be treated like first-class citizens. Munchkinlanders seek the comfort of middle-class stability, and the Tin Man becomes a victim of domestic violence. And then there is the little green-skinned girl named Elphaba. Elphaba?
Elphaba.
Elphaba, who will grow up to become the infamous Wicked Witch of the West, a smart, prickly, and misunderstood creature who challenges all our preconceived notions about the nature of good and evil. An astonishingly rich recreation of the land of Oz, this book retells the story of Elphaba,
Elphaba.
Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, who wasn't so wicked after all, taking readers past the yellow brick road and into a phantasmagoric, I love that word, world, rich with, see, that one I could say phantasmagoric.
Yep, but Elphaba, no.
No. Rich with imagination and allegory, Gregory Maguire just might change the reputation of one of the most sinister characters in literature.
Mm-hmm. I, for one, can't wait. I wanted to go see this when I went to New York, and everybody else was like, let's go see Book of Mormon, which was amazing, but
Sure.
I wanted to go see Wicked. Now I get to actually watch it.
Yes, that is exciting. It is supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
really great. I believe I did read this book years ago because the book's been out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun. It's one of those like just fills in all those back details for you. All the weird little like the Oz stories are just obviously delightful nonsense. And someone coming in and trying to like find rules of society is it's interesting to see what he comes up with,
I
definitely.
love it. I was really worried that Cats might have killed the musical movie industry, but this one has the opportunity to bring it back, and I believe in it. And
I think
also, if you really like this one, there is a sequel called Son of a Witch.
yes. And he's written other books that are like very similar. Like I feel like he wrote a book about the Cowardly Lion
Mm,
as well. Like he's done other things like that, like writing side character stories.
love it. I love it. That one's gonna be good. And the next one is The Knife of Never Letting Go, which is a trilogy from the Chaos Walking trilogy. I'm pretty sure the main character, it's Tom Holland, and I'm pretty sure the girl in it, I want to say it's Daisy Ridley, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
I maybe.
Yeah. Anyways, the book is by Patrick Ness. I did read this one, I think maybe 1.5 times, because I think I read it once and I was like, this is really good. And then I stopped reading the series because I forgot about it. And then I picked it up again years later and I was like, wow, this is really good. And I was like, I think I've read this before. So I was so glad I read it 1.5 times. So I'll tell you about it. Okay, Todd Hewitt is the only boy in a town of men. Ever since the settlers were infected with the noise germ, Todd can hear everything the men think, and they think they hear everything he thinks. Todd is just a month away from becoming a man, but in the midst of the cacophony, he knows that the town is hiding something from him. Something so awful Todd is forced to flee with only his dog, whose simple, loyal voice he hears too. With hostile men from the town in pursuit, the two stumble upon a strange and eerily silent creature. A girl. Who is she? Why wasn't she killed by the germ like all the females on the New World? Propelled by Todd's gritty narration, readers are in for a white-knuckle journey in which a boy on the cusp of manhood must unlearn everything he knows in order to figure out who he truly is. So basically, he was told his entire life that all women were dead, which is not true. and then he meets
Mm.
this girl who can hear his thoughts, and he's basically thinking at her super loudly. He's like, oh my god, a girl, oh my god, a girl, how's she alive? And she's like, can you stop, that's so rude. And then they like go on adventures. It's really cool. Yeah, good book.
It sounds, yeah, no, I mean, like there's lots of dystopias and stuff out there. I feel like this, like the men on their own is not quite as common outside of the, classic Lord of the Flies, right? What do
Yeah.
the dudes get up to?
Yeah, and this one's like a self-inflicted men on their own. Like it's not, they just for some reason are like, women are all dead.
Yeah, I mean, it is a trilogy, right? So
Yeah.
maybe there's a reason. A
I
couple
think
books
there
in.
is, but and maybe I've just forgotten it at this point, but read or watch to find out more. This episode's perfect for the people who don't want to read because, or who just like, is this going to be a good book? Because you know it's a good book if it's being adapted to the big screens.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if it's not actually a good movie,
Yeah.
it often started as a good book that just kind of got wrecked on the way. Mm-hmm.
Often
okay.
true.
Next one. This is a book that came out a couple years ago. It was huge. It was an Oprah book club pick. Won a bunch of awards. It's by Colson Whitehead, and it's called The Underground Railroad. Did you read this one or hear about this one, Nicole?
No.
Oh, well, wait till you hear. It's an interesting one. Cora is a slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia. Life is hell for all the slaves, but especially bad for Cora. An outcast even among her fellow Africans, she is coming into womanhood, where an even greater pain awaits. When Caesar, our recent arrival from Virginia, tells her about the Underground Railroad, they decide to take a terrifying risk and escape. Matters do not go as planned. Cora kills a young white boy who tries to capture her. Though they manage to find a station and head north, they are being hunted. In Whitehead's ingenious conception, the Underground Railroad is no mere metaphor. Engineers and conductors operate a secret network of tracks and tunnels beneath the southern soil. It's a literal railroad.
That's so cool.
Cora and Caesar's first stop is South Carolina, in a city that initially seems like a haven. But the city's placid surface masks an insidious scheme designed for its black denizens, and even worse, Ridgway, the relentless slave catcher, is close on their heels. Forced to flee again, Cora embarks on a harrowing flight, state by state, seeking true freedom. Like the protagonist of Gulliver's Travels, Cora encounters different worlds at each stage of her journey. Hers is an odyssey through time as well as space. As Whitehead brilliantly recreates the unique terrors for Black people in the pre-Civil War era, his narrative seamlessly weaves the saga of America from the brutal importation of Africans to the unfulfilled promises of the present day. The Underground Railroad is at once a kinetic adventure tale of one woman's ferocious will to escape the horrors of bondage and a shattering, powerful meditation on the history we all share.
Wow. That
right?
sounds really, really interesting.
Yes. Yes.
And I like the idea that it's like a literal underground railroad. Like that's a
I
cool.
know.
They're just like sprinkle that in. Enjoy. Wow.
Yeah. So alternate history, obviously. The Gulliver's Travels reference, it's really interesting because one of the ways he does that is like there's so many different little states, right? So like as she goes through these different states, they're all they all feel very different because like one state might have specific rules about slavery and Black people, and then the next state might have totally different rules, and in the next state it might seem like things are good but there's not, and then like just he explores lots of different tons of different scenarios. It's quite good. I don't know, the TV show or the movie is going to be wild. Quite a project.
What an interesting way to show what was happening all over too, like just how different the experiences were.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. I don't know where that one. It's a TV show, right? So that'll be good. Maybe each one is a different episode, each state. That'd be cool.
Yeah, like very heightened, like well, obviously, it's a literal railroad, underground railroad.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool. Let's head into
let's
our
do.
Rex. I think
Okay.
I have the first one, but you can go first for
All
evenness.
right. Okay, I'll go first then. So, the first one that jumped to mind was actually, and then I realized I'd already wrecked it before, so I'll just put the title in the show notes. But Let the Right One In, which is a zombie book that I wrecked. The adaptation is written by the author of the book, so
Oh,
it's just really great. Anyway, but my official one is a book. The book is a little bit older. The movie is I mean, I don't even know, 4 or 5 years old now. It's
okay.
not a new book, but it is a great book. It is the book Call Me by Your Name by Andre Aciman. There is a sequel to it. I have not heard good things about the sequel. So like, let's just pretend it's not a thing.
I can do that.
Okay. So the book, I'm not going to read, I'll just tell you what it's about
Okay.
because it's great. Okay. So it's this young man with his family, and they're in France. Everything is beautiful because they're in France. And his father is a professor or affiliated with a university, and a young man comes to be like a research assistant for his father and stays in their house for the summer. And they fall in love, lust. It's just so, the writing is really beautiful, but it's very poetic and very atmospheric. Like, he does a really good job of describing, like, they spend time outside, like lying by the pool, or they like go for a bike ride and they lie down in the grass in the rain. And he's just really, really good at evoking a setting so much that you really feel like you're experiencing what they're experiencing. And he does a really, like, considering the author is like a grown man and the characters are meant to be kind of like, I think it's like mid-20s, and then the main character, he's a young lad. He's like late teens. I feel like he does such a good job in capturing how relationships and falling in love can feel at that age, like how hugely everything is so invested in meaning to you, even if like the other person, it didn't really mean anything to them at all. So like we're in Elio's mind, right? So he's walking around through the house and makes some comment to Oliver, and it's just a throwaway thing and nobody else really notices anything. And then he goes upstairs to his room and is like, why am I so stupid? Why am I saying these, like, why am I saying these ridiculous things? Or like, what did he mean when he said this and that? It's intense. It's graphic. It's a gay love story. It doesn't end. If your thing is a true happily ever after, this book doesn't offer that, but it does have when you read the book, you come to understand, and they kind of come to understand, that regardless of what happens next in their lives, what they experienced together was worthwhile and meaningful. Yeah, it's really good. I experienced it a few different ways. When the movie came out, I couldn't get a hold of the movie for whatever reason. So I read the book and I liked it. And then I listened to the audiobook.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Which I actually highly recommend for this book, because like I said, it's really immersive. So I used to go on my lunch break when I worked at Waverly, I'd go down to the marina and I'd put my headphones in and just lie there in the sun, looking at the water, listening to them talking about going to like parties with bright young people, and it's just so immersive. So you feel like you're there. It was really good. Then I watched the movie, also good. And then I fell in love with the soundtrack. So it was a whole thing. There's also, I am going to also give a bit of a trigger warning, just that the characters, the way they cast the actors, the one actor, he looks quite a bit older. He looks tons older. than the other boy, in my opinion, the other young man, which, is not great. And then also it's played by Armie Hammer, who is
Yeah, look that up too. Suez
yes.
Canal, and then immediately after, Armie Hammer.
Yeah, so he's not necessarily someone that anyone is a fan of right now. But Timothy Chalamet plays the other. Yeah, he's the other guy, and beautiful, amazing scene between a father and son at the end. Anyway, really great summer read.
That sounds really good.
You know what? It is. And the call me by your it is. The call me by your name bit is all about it's about like how they want to be like inside each other, part of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also currently, maybe don't look it up because it's not necessarily a general audience appropriate. Lil Nas X has a new song out.
Oh yeah.
And it's called Call Me By Your Name. And it's no one has said anything about it. Maybe there's not a huge overlap between Lil Nas X fans. Maybe just no one else is thinking about this book, but I am, and I feel like pretty sure it's a reference.
You're probably correct. I think a lot of people are hung up on the religious iconography in it, less about its connection to Call Me By Your Name. Yeah. Yeah. They're just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, it is delightful. I'll stop talking, but check it out.
On a side note, Lil Nas X, his TikToks are hilarious. So just go follow a music recommendation. Go follow Lil Nas X. He is great.
He is great. Mm-hmm. But don't only watch that video with adults only.
Yeah. Yeah. With parental whatever, it's suggestive.
It is,
to say the least.
Yes. As is the book, Call Me By Your Name. So yeah, also for older readers.
Mm-hmm. This next one is for younger readers.
To jump to a totally different kind of book. Yes.
I mean, I'll say, yes, Percy Jackson and the Olympians is a series for juveniles or youth, but this series is for everybody. It starts off, the first book is like this thick. The next, the first series is like 5 books, and then there's another series after it called Heroes of Olympus, I want to say, and those books are thick. And they're good.
It's a big one.
It's big.
Big.
Yeah.
That's Gavin. Everything is big to him. That's my son. That's his favorite adjective. So like anything he gets, like you hand him an apple and he's like, big one. Yeah, it is. It's a big one, buddy.
Yeah. So anyways, if you haven't read them yet, I don't know what rock you've been living under. They are the be-all. They are like the Harry Potter of this generation. Like they're so prolific right now that I run a program called Completely Booked, book bag subscriptions, basically. And it doesn't help me at all with trying to figure out what books I like, but they're like, I like Harry Potter, I like Hunger Games, and I like Percy Jackson. And I'm like, that tells me nothing about what you like. That just means you like popular stuff. So they're really good. Anyway, so Lightning Thief, really good. But as we have talked about previously, the first movie adaptation, not great. Not great. Logan Lerman, love him, but and then the second one, even worse. So they are redoing that series. I am so excited because I think maybe they've learned their lesson, hopefully, and maybe Rick Riordan will be like, no, Rick Riordan is the author. I should have mentioned that. So for those of you that don't know, this is basically a story about a young boy named Percy Jackson. He is half god, half human, and he is the son of one of the big 3, Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus. And the big 3 are not allowed to have kids because they're far too powerful and bad things happen. So he's like unusual. Then he gets on the run because the bad Greek monsters are after him, and he goes to Camp Half-Blood, where he meets all the other demigod kids, and then they have to go on this big adventure to go get Zeus's lightning bolt back to him. It is so good, and if you like Greek mythology, it's not like the Hercules movie. It's actually semi-accurate, but updated to current day. It's good. I cannot speak more highly of this book. And I'll say Rick Riordan is a smart man, because he was like, Disney's gonna be a little bit like, they're a little more conservative, we'll put it that way. And then he got them totally hooked with Percy Jackson, and then the series afterwards, man, diversity like crazy. He's just like, what are they gonna do? Not publish my book? Nope.
Yeah. He is I mean, I don't know the man. He seems like a great person. He like purposefully tries to elevate diverse voices. He has his own, not a publishing house, probably an imprint, where he like helps other people who are writing mythology about their cultures get their books published. Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. He's just great. And he has another series called The Kane Chronicles, which is primarily Egyptian mythology. And now I think he's touching on, I think there's Odin something. I think he's got a Norse one. Yeah. Oh, so good. Let's pray that this TV show is well worth the books. Yeah. Because they've got a lot of material that they can play with if it turns out well.
Could keep the series going for a long time.
Yeah, so as you can tell, me, a 27-year-old grown woman, absolutely still loves Percy Jackson. So go check it out, because it's worth the read. I
never read these books.
Why does this happen every week? Laura, why?
I just wasn't that interested.
Did you not go through a Greek mythology phase? I haven't left mine, honestly.
No, not really. It was, if I was going to read it, it would have been when I was working as a librarian, and I was always like, I feel like I know enough about this book that I can wreck it if I need to, and I don't need to read it myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I just never got around to it.
Laura, I can loan you the books. You work in a library.
I was going to say, we do both work in a library. You don't have to actually lend me yours.
Yeah, but they're really good. Even though Laura hasn't read them, I have. They're really, really good. They're really good. I'm trying to convince my partner Alex to read them, and he's just like, no, Nicole, I don't want to read a kid's book. I'm like, Alex, I got my sister to read them, and she's not a reader either, so get on board.
It's a kid's book. It'll be a quick read. Just pick it up.
Yeah.
You scared? Great. Like, what's wrong?
Yeah, what's wrong, Alex? Yeah. But yeah, great books. And then in the later ones especially, he gets super diverse, like diverse sexualities, diverse ethnicities, all that good stuff. So
doesn't the Percy Jackson character, he has ADD? No, something like that?
They all the demigods have ADD or ADHD and dyslexia, which is attributed to their demigod status because their brain is constantly trying to read Greek.
I see.
Yeah, and ADHD is meant to help them have fast reflexes in battle. So even turns those two things, which are historically seen as negatives, which is just a product of the times, into great things. Like if you were in ancient Greece, I'm sure those two things would be great. Anyways, good books. Yeah. Check them out. I could keep talking for like 8 hours about Percy Jackson, so I guess I'll do the wrap up. Yeah, so that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. You can catch our show notes at www.tbpl off the shelf. Follow us on all the social medias at tbpl. Become our friend on Goodreads. Email us, whatever you like. We read our comments. We want to know what you want us to talk about. And we will see you all next week. Bye!
Bye.